So on my channel, I talk about movies, but I also love Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So in today's video, I'm going to do a tier list of several Better Call Saul moments, and it's my most favorite TV show of all time. And I want to do a tier list about it, so here we go. Alright, so starting off with this scene with Vernon Ziegler and Mike. Very heartfelt scene, right? You have these two characters that have built this relationship throughout the time they've been together on this project. And now Mike has to kill him. It's a very sad scene. Honestly, like, it's an A-tier scene. Because really there's no bad scenes in Better Call Saul. Where, like, you have Breaking Bad, right? You have, like, one or two scenes that don't really work. Maybe a couple scenes, a few scenes that don't really work. Like, the Happy Birthday scene, obviously, is a clear example. But, really here, there's no bad scenes. So when I'm putting it on here, I'm not necessarily doing it on how much I like it or not like it. I'm doing it more from a critical perspective where I'm on visuals, I am doing it on meaning, not my enjoyment of it, because they'd all be an S tier if it was by that standard. So just putting it out there. So it's an incredible emotional moment. You don't need that extra bit of cinematography or anything. You just need a very nice moment between these two characters that carries it. It's very nice. Okay, this scene where he's first meeting the twins with the money. This is a big turning point just with the character where you have Saul Good. He's Saul Good at this point. Jimmy McGill out the window. And this is basically the kickoff of that final bit of transition from Jimmy to Saul, where he's finally breaking into the life of a criminal lawyer. And he's finally getting real for him. And he's finally realizing this is what the rest of his life is going to be like. All the decisions of his life has led him to this moment and led him to everything that will happen after that, as we can see here in the next moment, right here and down here, and probably some other places in this list. And I think it's a very good moment. I'm going to put it up here in A tier, behind the Ziegler Mike moment. This scene with Saul and Mike, this is just a great sequence. I can't tell if it's trying to encompass just everything that happened in the desert between Mike and Saul, because that's just some of the best television, period, or it's just talking about a specific moment while they were in the desert, because if you piece it, like, individually like that, it's much more different the way I put it on here. So I'm just going to kind of encompass it from when they were first on their travels and everything. I'm going to put it at the back of A tier. Simply because I don't know how it really wants me to rate it. Just because I don't know if it's talking about the whole thing or whatever. Okay, so this scene where he's looking at the tapes, this is an S tier moment for me, right? You have this at this point Gene Takovic looking at the tapes of his previous life, and it is an insane moment. While we're at it, let's just get rid of all the Gene Takovic scenes all at once, right? So this scene on the phone call, S tier. I think all the Gene Takovic scenes are perfect. Legit. No, this one's the best one though. That one's the best one, because at that point, you have that reflection. I love, again, showing how Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould were able to masterfully use color to create a sequence where here you have the black and white of the Gene Takovic timeline with the color of Saul Goodman and the life that it all entails. I think that's very interesting. So we'll put this on there. Not the well. And actually, no. There's too many black and white scenes on here. Some of them I don't want to. I wouldn't wait until later, but I just wanted to get a couple of them out of the way. Oh, another black and white scene. Okay. A lot of people don't like this scene, and I understand why. Like when I first watched it, I've been rocked with it. You know, I was like, "This is awesome. I love this." Then I kind of stepped back, and I was like, "It doesn't really make sense above it just being a cool moment." So I guess it would just go in. It is our first B tier. right? Because like this is like the one thing. It's a bit of a stretch, but it is an earned stretch, so it's like okay. Because right, you have Saul, or I guess it wouldn't be Saul at this point. I guess it would be Jimmy, who is in the books, but he's so haunted by the moniker of Saul and Better Call Saul and all that, and in the slogan. So here he's kind of faced with that head on, and in a moment like if it didn't have any build up, then this payoff wouldn't have meant anything. But since it has had the build up throughout the series, this payoff, where it's just a little bit odd, works. Cut of everything that happened before. But if it didn't have a good build, it wouldn't have worked. So I mean, it just goes in B tier, just because it doesn't really. If you're coming off the high of just everything that happened before, it doesn't really make sense. If you're not coming off that high. This bingo scene, it's a very well crafted scene. I'm gonna put it right here. It's just a pretty nice scene. You know, Jimmy starting to dip his toes into different types of law, and seeing how it also plays into where he's at in the series at that point. All right, the bottle scene. I'm gonna put this in the back of A tier, kind of leaning towards B, where you have this kind of being towards the peak of the Jimmy and Kim, or the Saul and Kim era, where you have these two people who are out doing their own thing. You have this big contrast between their two lives, where you have Kim with Mesa Verde, you have Saul with his group of criminals and the cartel and all that. It's that little contrast in their life, and seeing all that influence their relationship, specifically in this moment as well. It's very nice. Don't think it's one of the best moments in the show, but it's still very nice. Again, no bad moments in this show. Again, so I can't really rate it on the same way I would normally do. I'm doing it based on many different factors apart from that. All right. The boxing scene between Howard and Jimmy. I remember when I first saw this, I was like, seriously? I was like, okay, buddy. I thought about it a little bit more. I was like, fine. Now, I think I'll put this in C tier. Simply because, like, it just didn't. It was, I mean, like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. I get the meaning of where you have Saul, who has this hubris, and then you have Howard just knocking the shit out of him. In that big story moment between the characters, even beyond that, you have a separate problem with like just being an absolute scumbag towards Howard in every possible meaning of the word. But honestly, overall, just didn't care for the moment. I don't know. This scene right here, big moment. I believe this. Okay, was this the scene where they were like breaking up? Where Kim was like, we're bad for each other. I think that was the scene. Pretty sure. If it is, it's S tier. Because this is the moment where it pays off everything. Like, if you thought you were annoyed with the Saul and Kim dynamic against Howard, against all these different things, this is the moment where that payoff is delivered. And all of that finally comes to a head, where they have that development of realizing if they're together, they're going to ruin some people's lives. And the way that moment takes up everything and culminates everything that happened for a large portion of the show was brilliant. All right, this scene, probably my most favorite scene in the desert. Well, okay, so actually my most favorite scene when they were in the desert is actually a flashback scene, when they're talking about, like, if you could go back in time and all that, because that's just such a great, meaningful conversation for the show. But this one, so the thing about this desert scene is it just has a very dirty vibe. Like, it feels very wrong. in a way where you have Saul, he's tore up. His lips are chapped to oblivion. And he's just out there walking in this tarp. And the way it's filmed and everything, it's done to just feel very nasty, make you feel very gross while watching it. Because what you know you're watching is these characters being pushed to the brink of their decision making, and they're getting a little taste of the consequences of working with the cartel. And I think that's very interesting. Like, honestly, it also just adds on to, like, you have the desert scene, then you have just everything after that. It really just proves what Saul was willing to do to get where he was, right? He was able to ignore everything to get where he wanted to be. I think this one deserves to go top of A tier, maybe back of S tier. What do we have left? Okay, we still have quite a bit left. All right, this scene. Oh my gosh, I love this scene. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna put it the second spot of S tier because the scene at the top of S tier. It's gonna be very hard to move, but this scene is brilliant, where Chuck's like, this is right, Then Jimmy, right, he comes in, he's like, you know what, Chuck, brother, one day you're gonna get sick, and you're gonna get hooked up to all these things. There's no one to be there to help you, and it's such a haunting scene, and it is one of my most favorite scenes ever in television, because you just have Saul, or Jimmy, as it were then, who is really making it real for Howard, and for Chuck, in that moment where he's kind of trying to put it in perspective for Chuck, like, you need me. You may not realize it, but you need me. And so that's this haunting reminder of, yes, Chuck might be doing all these different things, but he is vulnerable, all things considered. Because, again, of the thing that leads to his death, without the law, there's only his insecurities. There's only those little ticks that drive him to his death later in the show. I think this is the first haunting reminder of that. Then you get down to his death. One of the best ones in the show. A very haunting scene. When I first watched that, I was blown away that they actually did that. Like, I was like, whoa. Like, I knew already. I mean, it's a great show. Everything, but that just pushed it to the next moment. I'm gonna put it right behind the moment just before. This scene really trying to build out that divide between Howard and Chuck right before their demise. I believe that's what the scene was. Again, some of these pictures in this tier list are not perfect. I did not make the tier list. But I just really can't tell what moment this is. I'm just going to assume this is kind of the part of the show where they're trying to divide a little bit, where the relationship is trying to strain. And I think it is a solid top of B tier. Alright, the scene where Jimmy is visiting the grave. Right. Really great moment. I can't remember it that well. Again, it's been a while since I've watched the show. And also the show is just so dense with so many different things. So many little plot, story details and everything that it's hard, like, on your first watch. Right? You don't fully take it in. Second or third watch, you do. But I've only seen the show twice. And I don't entirely remember what the scene was. I'm pretty sure I do. Like, if I were to enhance the image, I'd be able to tell what it was, but I can't, so I'll just put it back of A tier. So if it's the moment I think it is, then it's good, because I'm pretty sure either way okay, I'm just going to move past it. Kim and Jimmy at the funeral. Right? I believe this would have... See, this is the problem with some of these images. I don't remember what part of the show it's in. So, I'm just not going to... I'm actually just going to move the ones I don't remember to the very back of the tier list. So the ones I do remember, I can just go ahead and, go through. So, like, alright, this scene where it's Chuck, spazzing out in the printer place. Great scene, right? Jimmy's antics finally go too far when it harms his brother, and then Jimmy kind of realizes that. It's a really good scene. Top of B tier, I'd say. Just because, it's just Chuck really just expanding on his issue, right? So that's just kind of where I'm coming from with that. Coming up next, we have Lalo and Nacho. All their scenes, they have such a great dynamic in the show. Their relationship and seeing how that dilates throughout the series, where it ends up getting, and in the end, both of them killed, but obviously Nacho, the way he goes out, that starts with that dynamic with Lalo. And with this, you see the relationship kind of change. Very great. I'm going to put it at the back of A tier. Just because, I don't know if I like it more than the Jimmy and Kim stuff, but nonetheless. Alright, this is, hopefully I'm going to see if the other scenes on this tier list I'm thinking of. I don't think it is, but I'm just checking. Okay, it is not. Alright, the scene I was going to do is not on here. So, this is my defining Saul moment. Like, if I point somebody to the moment that Jimmy truly abandoned any iota of what was Jimmy McGill, this is the scene I point them to. One of the few. Where he's filing divorce with Kim, and this is really the point where it makes it the most overt that Jimmy is hiding something deep within his psyche. What he's hiding deep within his psyche is that he loves Kim, but he can't show that. So he tries to act non-caring. And it reveals itself. Again, obviously, because we know, that whole build, that whole relationship. In this moment here, Saul is going full transformation, full on, hiding his pain behind a facade that is only broken when we get to the end of season 6. And again, Better Call Saul, a masterful show. Right? Okay, the phone calls. I believe this was where his assistant was talking to him, right, after that designated time. I don't remember it entirely, but from what I do remember, it was a great moment. Not sure if it's S tier material. I'm not even sure if it's high A tier, but I think it might be top of B tier. This scene where Saul is, Gene / Saul / Jimmy. I think at this point, I could characterize him. I think at this point, I could probably characterize him as sort of Gene. No, he's 100% Gene, but he's starting to slip back into Saul. Because, right, this is before the little bit where he's negotiating a sentence. So right now, he was Jimmy. He was Gene Takovic. Now he's kind of readapting to his circumstances, turning back on that facade as Saul Goodman. And I think as he realizes that, sitting there in disbelief of his current situation, as he kind of switches those gears in his head, wonderful scene. Gonna put that one in S tier behind the divorce scene. Again, here's the thing, right? All these modes are great in one way or the other. But the more I talk, that's why I love this YouTube channel. I can talk through these things I love, and maybe I'll love them more, or maybe it'll fall apart as I'm talking about it. That's what I think is so fun about this. But yeah, let's keep going. All right, which scene is that? I honestly can't tell. That's why I'm gonna put it at the back, and I'll round back to it if I remember. Oh, this scene's a heartbreaker. This scene was hard to watch. Where you have finally the Chuck and Howard relationship strain has come to a head where Howard basically shuns Chuck out of the company of HHM. And wait, no, that's not. No, oh my god, I'm such an idiot. No, this is the Howard funeral. Never mind. This was a great moment because this is where you have Howard. This is where you have Saul and Kim. Their kind of horrible, like the way their poison together, really comes to a head here. Where yes, the deed is done. Yes, it's all cleaned up, but they have to deal with the way that the death integrates into their lives. And really, you can see here how much has changed. Chuck is dead. Howard is dead. And it can all be connected back to their relationship. And I'm going to put that at the back of S tier. Alright, so this is basically where, right here, where Howard was basically at the peak of his brokenness. Okay? Like at this point in the show, he's basically at his worst. He's basically at his lowest here. He has not recovered, but here's the thing. Saul being Saul, he pushes down Howard so he can feel better about himself, really just hurting Howard even deeper again. Howard's all scuffed up and everything, not looking too good. I think that's just a great little moment. I'll put that up here. Because it really just shows where Saul is and the way he correlates with other characters, with how he pushes them down so he can feel better in this very petty kind of self-defeating way. Right? I had to readjust my mic there. The chicanery scene, literally the culmination of everything that happened up to the point in that show. It is an incredible scene, right? It's an incredible sequence where you just have Chuck completely breaking down. Such a memorable scene. Such a quotable scene, too. Like, dear God. Like, I mean, it's just, it's such a good scene. Man, it's incredible. I don't know if I want to put it in S tier. Because at one point, you have Chuck, complete meltdown mode. But on the other hand, no, let's play the back of that tier. Yeah, well, okay, this scene right here, this scene means something to me, man. Okay, right, it's the beginning of the show. You're introduced to Jimmy McGill. And he has the mannerisms. So you're introduced, yeah, it's all good in Breaking Bad. But now, in Better Call Saul, you are introduced to James McGill. James McGill is a person who has the little seeds and the little concepts of Saul. But they are toned down because you have the heart of James McGill. So, we're just seeing that contrast there between the characters, mannerisms, the way he acts towards everybody, the way he acts towards himself going into a courtroom, seeing where he is contrasted to where he is in Breaking Bad. Again, this is the beginning of the show, really setting the tone. It's a great scene. I think I can easily put it right here, behind the nursing home scene. Okay, this is a scene I'm pretty mixed on. I mean, it's a C tier at worst. I don't think any of them are really going to go into the D tier, so you like scroll through some of these. Yeah, not going to lie. There's, like, I honestly don't think any of these will go into D tier. None of them are bad scenes. Now, if we were doing the Breaking Bad moments tier list, I think a few of those could go into the D tier, but not Better Call Saul. Not Better Call Saul. This is a C tier scene. Because, like, I mean, I don't know. Right? Obviously, like, you could argue about the underlying plot relevance of the scene. But you could also see it as Vince Gilligan just wanting to bring back Jesse. Just for those little, ending of the era. A little bit of nostalgia there. And also, Jesse looks way older here. Because obviously, the actor is way older here than Jesse would be. So it just doesn't look right. Then again, it's also a really good moment because you have Kim kind of the way she answers Jesse. Is he a good lawyer? Is he good? Kim is when I knew him. Again, this is right after the divorce scene, presumably. And that is brilliant. The way she vaguely answers that. But then it's just overshadowed by Jesse not really looking that right for the era, for the time it's supposed to take place in. So it just looks odd. And yeah. Nonetheless, this scene with Howard and Jimmy is incredible. I think I could safely put it right here. Where you have Saul at just the peak of his ego. Right? Like, this is before the point where he just has gone stomped down by the cartel time and time again, by all that. This is when he thinks he's hot shit, okay? This is when Saul really thinks he's the main character, bro. He really is having that main character syndrome, you know? He really is just like, he thinks, he's really just taking in the whole Saul character, okay? And unleashing that onto Howard as Howard just is the bigger man and walks away. Because Howard is always the bigger man in this show. You have Jimmy with his mischievous little schemes. Howard's always the bigger person. Whether you like it or not, because obviously they prop him up to be the antagonist of sorts in the earlier seasons, right? You're not supposed to like him. But if you really think about it, Howard is the bigger man. Except for a few specific instances. He's the bigger man. Here he's being the bigger man, just walking away while you have Saul, this little gremlin, just screaming at him. And, yeah. Like, lightning bolts shoot from my fingertips. Like, that is just the peak of the Saul ego. And, yeah. Alright, so this scene where Saul is just freaking out on Kim. It's going to Sano style on Kim, right? No. Mm-mm. But, so this is a really great moment. Just got crashing out a little. Not one of my most favorite moments in the show. I think it's probably a B-tier moment. Okay, now this scene. This is the part from the show everybody knows. Wait, I'm gonna see how long this recording has gone on so far. Not as bad as I thought it was going so. It hasn't been going as long as I thought it had been. I thought this had been going for like 45 minutes now. It's only been going about 30. That's not bad. Alright, next up. This is the moment everybody knows, right? Takes off the jacket, takes it off. And just that thematic relevance of this scene where you have Saul kind of looking into what will become, or Jimmy kind of looking into what will become Saul Goodman, with him being fascinated and him having all these different suits. You can see the look he gives them. And then it goes into that montage, which is beautiful. It's beautiful. There's this video by this really good Breaking Bad YouTuber called Beat Rice where he did a tier list of every single montage in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Great video. Great person. I assume I've only seen the videos, but he's good at making videos about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Nonetheless. Great scene. Great montage. Yeah. I'd say I could put that at the back of S tier. Oh, this scene. Oh, this scene really makes me hate Chuck. Then again, you're not supposed to like Chuck, right? I believe this was the scene where he did all this just so he could get a little bit of that good old evidence out of Jimmy, his brother. Again, really Chuck. Just being the peak where you're kind of just dealing with Chuck. Because you know he has his problems. So you're kind of there with Jimmy, just dealing with Chuck to a certain point. And seeing how that correlates with this scene, it's a really good scene. I think I could safely put it at the back of A tier. Alright, this scene, I mean, I just think the cinematography is cool in it. Really beyond that, it's nothing special. So I think I could put it right there in B tier. I mean, like back. Actually, wait, I'm gonna rearrange this. Hold up. I'm gonna put this up here. Yeah, okay. That looks good. Because, like, other than the cinematography, it's just Saul. It's just Jimmy being up to one of his schemes, trying to get more people on his little thing. Trying to kind of like, slipping Jimmy a little bit. Seeing that little coming a little bit. Alright. Jimmy just being a douchebag so he can get money. Okay? Because he doesn't really fit in with the whole, very structured life of working as a lawyer within a firm. Doesn't like that life. So he's just doing whatever he can to get fired. Because if you just leave the company, you can't get the bonus or whatever. If you get fired, though, you can. So that's what he's trying to get out of this. And it's hilarious. Like, it doesn't have any, like, deep plot relevance that you can delve into a 5-hour video essay. But it is a damn funny moment, okay? And Bob Odenkirk is just, again, he's a comedic actor. But he's also proven he can do dramatic roles. But, again, Bob Odenkirk is showing a little bit of his comedic talents here. And Vince Gilligan knowing how to write that. And then you figure out Better Call Saul is really supposed to be a comedy series. That would have been weird, man. Like, imagine if we got that instead of Better Call Saul. That would have been strange. I don't know what I would have thought about that. But, I mean, nothing special here. I feel like I just put it in the back of B tier. It's nothing but a funny moment. So, I mean, nothing to complain about, and nothing that really brings it up to the next level. Dang, there's a lot of stuff still here. Okay. Just another desert scene. This seems to be the beginning of the desert sequences where he's not able to get shot, but no. I just think the desert scenes are good all in all. There's a set of really good sequences. So I guess I just put it here. With the other desert sequence, not really any individual order. So these two kind of interchangeable. Oh yeah, another Nacho and Wallow moment. I love these two together. They're great. See, I'm just gonna put it next to the other one. Yeah, I'm just gonna put it. Actually, I'm gonna put it one ahead. This is what I was saying top of S here for. This was all what I was saving it for, man. Yep. Top of S tier. No moment in television history is going to top how much I love this scene right here. The scene I just don't put at the top of S tier. This scene where he's giving this kind of like FU to Walter White, where he's like, fact is, Walter White couldn't have done it without me, right? He would have been dead or in jail within a month without me. Kind of just like, because Walt would hate that, right? Because, like, I mean, he hated Walt. Walt basically Walt ruined his life, okay? And even though Mike told him not to do it, it was Saul's hubris to go for it anyways. It was then Walt's hubris taking himself down, which took out everybody around him, leading to this moment, and it's beautiful. Right? Okay. This scene from Saul Gone. Dang, that is such a great episode of television, man. Where you have Kim finally coming to terms with everything that happened earlier in Better Call Saul in the distant past, where everything with Howard is blown over basically at this point, but she's still just carrying that she's still carrying that emotional baggage until this moment where she lets everything out in front of Howard's wife. It's a great scene. It's an incredible sequence. Same where it's like carried on right here, but I'll talk about that in a second. Which scene was this? Dang it, again, remember with the photos, I just can't remember all the sequences. Rather, it's like over what it is. I can go into it from there. So I'm just going to put it back here. Some of these scenes, I just won't remember. I just can't remember what they were that well. Because it's not, the picture is specific enough to really just bring in the memory. The marriage between Kim and Jimmy, just a little moment where it's because like they just kind of, on one hand they love each other, but on the other hand it's for a lawsuit, where a law thing where they can't go up against each other if they're married. So you know, it's a good moment for the plot. Honestly, I'm gonna put it at the back of A tier, or actually right here into B tier. Where like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. The moment, right? It's just I think there's better moments in the show. I just don't think it really goes up to A tier, in my opinion. Nonetheless, this scene, race. This is probably why Vince Gilligan decided to bring back Ray Seahorn for the Pluribus show, because just like she's an incredible Ray Seahorn's an incredible actress. She really needs to get more roles. Honestly, I've not seen her in that much. Like she was in the newest Bad Boys film, but like she didn't get too much to do in that one, all things considered. But like she's such a great actress. One of my most favorite actresses of all time. Um, Dang, it has to go in S tier, but I don't know where. I don't know. I think it would go behind here, where like you have Gene reflecting on those moments in those tapes, kind of him very depressed, and then you have her. So I guess they kind of go hand in hand, where like you have Kim breaking down over all the emotional baggage, finally toppling down over her. But then you have Jimmy kind of interacting with that same concept, but in a much more different way, where you have Gene breaking down, but for a different reason. Whereas for Kim, it's because of everything that happened with Howard and everything all the bad things they did. With Jimmy, it was because of his Saul Goodman era, right? So again, they were both on emotional journeys at that point. All right, one of those classic scenes where you have, like, I love these scenes, and it's such a relevant thing that just continues to happen in the series, where you'll have Kim just like fight Jimmy's battles for him, and he just stands back there and watches. Like it's so fun to watch. I don't know. This is the scene with Lalo, really just showing how much of a badass Kim is, and how much of a all talk no walk Jimmy is, because you know he thinks he's hot shit until things get real with the cartel, and then he just breaks down and has to let Kim fight his battles. Very interesting. The psyche of Saul Goodman. Right. This is definitely. It's not top of A tier, right? This top of A tier is. I don't think it'll be beat, but definitely gonna go up there. Actually, I want to rearrange this. Put it right there, like that. This right here is a great scene where you have Saul starting up his law office the way we know it at the beginning of Breaking Bad. Not to that point yet. Still pretty far off from that point, but not too much. Where he's starting to make that turn into that character more and more. So you know what? I think I can put it safely at the top of B tier. This scene, just a haunting reminder of all the damage that Kim and Saul did. And also a great scene where you have Mike, who thinks that he is separate from all this. Where you have, when he's throwing in the body, specifically Howard's body, he says, "Don't be so rough." He gets kind of angry at them. Because he thinks he has a moral code. When really, after everything is said and done, he is no better than everybody else in this game, as he says. But with little things like that, where he's like, "Hey, be careful with the good guy," right? He has that sense of conscience again. It's not like full Breaking Bad Mike, where he's just doing a bunch of bad shit, you know? He's in the shit, really. But, like, it's not... It's a very interesting scene, one for the haunting nature of what Jimmy and Kim have done, but also just a psychoanalysis on Mike, where he is as a person. So, you know what, I think I can safely put this up here in S tier. Probably, like, right here, yeah. Where it's, like, one of the truly great Mike scenes of Better Call Saul. Right? Because, like, Mike's great. He's a great character. But, like, a lot of the scenes I found that, like, you'll have like whatever Jimmy and Kim are doing, and then it's kind of undercut for a while in the series with whatever Mike's doing and Gus is doing, because it's really until those two worlds collide that they don't undercut the other. But I feel like for a little bit there, they kind of do. Okay. And no, you can clearly tell from this video, I do not have an ad blocker. This scene is great, right? Lalo just being a depraved human being, as per usual. Oh, classic Lalo, right? This is an A-tier scene, yeah. I could probably put it on there safely. This is our first interaction with Lalo, as far as I can tell. I think this is the first interaction with Lalo. Just him showing off that more that illusion of him being a normal person before we see the monster underneath. Again, really both these two scenes are right beside each other, where you have this mask, this facade of this very charming, kind, sweet person. You look under that, and you have this monster. Possibly the most depraved character in the entire show. And it'll be an interesting interaction. What would happen if you had Lalo and Walt? I wonder how those two characters would interact. Like, honestly, I think Lalo would 100% outwit Walt in just about 99 out of like 100 situations. But I don't know. Walt does have some interesting situations under his belt where he has proven himself, but his hubris, his ego gets in the way, so I don't know. Nonetheless, showing how Lalo has this mask till he takes it off, and he's the monster we know and love. There's an A-tier moment, I'd say. Okay, this scene's really good. Where, again, you have Lalo putting on this facade of being a good person. And it contrasts with the scene I just now did, where we're first introducing him. Here, we've already seen a lot of the monstrous things he's done. Now him putting back on that facade for somebody who does not know that, we are dearly hoping that she will get out of there alive. Whereas there, we didn't know what we were getting into with Lalo, right? And then he takes off the mask. Here, we've already seen that. So now we are now she's kind of in the perspective where we were not knowing what he's all about. Here, we know, and we know how dangerous he can be. So kind of seeing how he kind of interacts with this person, very interesting. Oh, I'm getting tired, bro. I think I'll put this, bro. This tier list makes me look like I hate Lalo, but like I really don't. There's just so many other great moments in this show. Let's see here. This is a great scene. Absolutely an amazing scene. Where it's Lalo and Jimmy when they're getting the sentencing. It's like 600 grand. And then Lalo's like, yeah, I can do it. I just need you to pick it up. And then that leads to the whole desert sequence. This is a great turning point for the show. So probably just definitely a B-tier scene. Because this is a big turning point for the series. And then not much beyond that. Okay. Alright, so here Lalo's death, dying with a smile. How thematically that makes sense for his character. Because you have this person who has built up this facade. And he'll tear it down with his charisma and everything into this monster. Here, he dies with a smile. Very convenient. And, yeah. Alright, this is the scene where Slip and Jimmy, and you have the person he used to run cons with, where he sadly passes away. After, they try to run this classic shtick, but this time, he actually does go cattywampus, and he actually does end up all messed up. He dies. This is a really good scene, all things considered. I mean, I don't know. I guess I could just put it back here, I guess. Yeah. So I'm gonna move this up here. Alright, a Lolo scene. I don't know. Right there. Okay, this is an interesting scene where you have Maikai testing Tuco a little bit, kind of rage baiting him, if you will. And, this is a really great scene where he's trying to kind of rage bait Tuco into getting arrested. Into getting arrested by the police. And this is a really great scene. Okay? Because you have Mike, who knows how to handle people like Tuco, obviously from like being an officer to now dealing with people like Tuco on a daily basis. He knows how to overpower them. He knows how to work them in a way that gets the results that he wants. And that's just showing the intelligence of Mike, all things considered. And I think they could go right here. This is a Breaking Bad scene, but I don't care. I'll put it on here anyways. This is the scene. I don't know why it's on here, but okay. This is the scene where Mike. No, this is a Better Call Saul moment. This is the scene where Mike is talking to his daughter-in-law about his son. Very sweet moment. Really just giving extra layers to Mike. That's what I appreciate about Better Call Saul, right? Because you had Breaking Bad, where you had Mike basically this force of nature, and then kind of making him a bit more vulnerable. And I love that. It's a very great moment. Definitely up there as one of the best moments of A tier. Funny how 2 of the 3 in the top 3 are both Mike moments. Yeah, so this is just a scene with Mike, again, just playing into kind of who he was in Breaking Bad. Again, really just highlighting how he tries to have a moral code. At the end of the day, he's no better than the people he works with. And yeah, I think I could put that back at A tier. Maybe like down here in B tier actually. This is the scene towards the very beginning of the show with Nacho and Jimmy, where Jimmy's basically starting to get into the game of sorts. And Nacho is his first dip into that world. And yeah, so I think I could softly put this at the back of right here in A tier, because like it was a great moment for Jimmy just starting to dip into that world, but all things considered, really nothing too special about it. So I think I could put it maybe back here. All right, Nacho's death. Oh, this scene was great. It's an S tier 100%. Because it's such a haunting scene where you have Nacho, who is this character who, at this point, he has known, he has been out running death for quite a while now. And finally comes to a head here where all he can do now is just exercise his hate for the people who got him to this moment, for the people who dragged him down through the mud and are now going to shoot him in the face. The Salamancas. And he vengefully tells them, I put you in that chair. And really just kicking the dirt into the wound of Hector, leaving that final impact that is perfect thematically for Nacho. And yeah. Alright, which scene was this? I believe this was a scene where it's Nacho in Lalo's home, right? I think. Pretty sure. To be honest, I'm not too sure. I can't really tell from this scene. I'm just gonna guess that's what it is. I'll just put it right here. Oh, this is a great scene where you have Nacho talking to his father, knowing that this is going to be the last time he's going to talk to him. Because basically at this point, Nacho knew his days were numbered. He knew it was just a matter of time before he died. And this is where it happened. It all comes to a head here. This conversation with his father. And yeah, you know, if his death goes in S tier, how at the moment where he knows he's gonna die goes in there too. This is a great scene, another Nacho scene, where you basically have him switching out the pills that end up leading to Hector's crash out that led him to be in the wheelchair, his stroke and everything. Just a great moment that had a great payoff after he trained to do the moment, and obviously we know the payoff that had in Breaking Bad. And yeah, but really, I mean, nothing that really brings it up to the next level for me. Just as a moment in the story. All right, which scene was this? I don't remember the scene. I don't know what scene that was, so I'm just gonna put it back here. So right here, basically, I've had just scenes I don't remotely remember in the show, just because the picture's too vague or something like that. But yeah, so this is a scene in the oil tanker where Nacho is hiding out, and just a great scene. If you watch behind the scenes for it, it's really cool how they did the scene. But this is just a great part where, again, you know Nacho is outrunning death. And you know he's going to die. He knows he's going to die. He doesn't know when, though. And so this little bit right here, and we're trying to outrun death as long as we can. Death in this time, the form of the Salamancas. And yeah. This scene, again, Nacho, no. You know what's funny? They grouped all the Nacho scenes in one part, so basically I'm just like turning into the biggest Nacho glazer of all time, because I mean all of his scenes in the later seasons were perfect, where you have that him basically outrunning death, that whole thing, it's perfect. Having his last meal, just gonna put all those in S tier. This scene where Mike and his father, where again, Mike and Nacho's father, where again you have Mike, who says he has this moral code, says he follows his rules that separates him from the people he works with. Then he has conversations like this, where he has to tell people that his son died. He has to do difficult things like this, have these conversations, where then it is fully realized for Mike, where that copium starts to wear off, and he realizes he has that kind of clicking moment in his brain that he is no better. And it's scenes like this that prove that. And might as well continue the tradition, put another late season Nacho scene in S tier. Oh yeah, I mean it's not a Nacho scene, but it's a direct correlation of this scene, so you get the idea. Alright, just a classic slip in Jimmy old scam, or I guess it would be a Saul scam again, trying to mess with Howard. Again, just peak messing with Howard. But again, you have to remember of how good of a head it came, where it finally all collapsed with Howard dying and all that, and they finally realized they're poisoned together, and it kind of just leads to everything else happening with Wallow and everything. So, I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, it's great. But if you look at it just from the scene itself, it's nothing that great. So I guess I could put it back with B tier. This scene where Kim and Jimmy are in their new law office that they've made together. Great moment, great little moment. I'd say this can go up here in to just back of B tier. Nothing too great about it, just yes. Alright, the scene where Hector has his stroke, obviously because he had the sugar pills. just a good little scene that obviously has big impact for the rest of the show. Might as well just group it with the switching out scene with the pills. I don't remember which twin scene this was, but basically, if the twins are in Better Call Saul, it's a great scene. Whereas in Breaking Bad, they're in so much of it that it's kind of hard to tell. Here, you know what they're in for. You know you're in for a good, like, a really important scene if they're in it, because they're not in it very often. So they're a nice addition. So I could fairly put them um, maybe up here. Yeah. Oh, we're finally. How long has this been going on for? 56 minutes. Dang. It's been almost half an hour since I last checked what time it was for this tier list. Dang, that's crazy. But yeah, so I think this Better Call Saul moment right here where you have this scene where again he uses lights, he uses lighting, and he uses colors. Where you have the black and white of them in prison, but then you have the spark of the cigarette. That spark between them still there. Knowing that they are a power couple, but they are a power couple that when together create nothing but poison to everybody around them. And this is just the combination of everything, of everything that's happened in the show. And yeah, it's a great ending scene for the series. Yeah, I think that concludes our black and white scenes for this, for Better Call Saul, for this tier list. So honestly, I think I could put it probably right here, S tier. Again, you notice something. All of them except for they all are in S tier, and then you just have one that's just completely skips the tier, and then it goes to B tier. By black and white, I mean black and white Saul scene or dream scene. I will know. This is Jimmy. Either way, black and white scenes, mostly all in S tier, except for just a couple. For this one's basically S tier, just not exactly. This one, it's B tier for reasons I too tired to go into again. So, all right, this is a flashback scene where Jimmy's basically bitching about why he needs to get out of prison. And, pretty fair. He's bitching to his brother. Why don't you get up prison? Come on, man, please. I'll be good boy. Come on. And that basically leads to him getting into law, getting hired at HHM as a mailman, basically. And so, this is a great little scene. This is a really good scene. Okay, I guess I can just put it right there. This is a great little montage showing the divides in their lives. Again, with Mesa Verde and then with the cartel. It's a great little divide there. I think I can comfortably put this. Yeah, right there. And H is a great little scene. This is another flashback scene where Jimmy first passes the bar. And again, this is after Chuck's death. So, Vince Gilligan really just putting some salt in the wound of Chuck's death, where, you have this character that you're not really meant to like. But then after he's gone, Vince really wants to make you feel bad for it. Really wants to make you feel the sting along with Jimmy, a.k.a. Saul. And you really want to feel that sting for his death that Jimmy feels, so it makes you feel that too, with this heartfelt moment between the two. And yeah, so I can move that up to A tier. We're in A tier. I don't know. Probably like lower end A tier. Probably maybe right here, yeah. This is a sweet little scene where Vince was kicking some salt in the wound of Chuck's death. This scene, oh my gosh, more just annoying ass Walter White, stomping on Jimmy. Again, this is the would you back in time scene. I assume this is what he was discussing, and well, the way I see it, this is a scene where, again, it's just highlighting. It's getting it fresh in your mind, just in case you haven't seen Breaking Bad in a while. That, yeah, Walt was an absolute ass to everybody that he was around. And even when Walt knew was over, his insane level of copium and ego still made him push others down. And Saul became a victim of that. So, I feel like it can comfortably go up, probably top of A tier. No, actually, yeah. This scene is great where you have Jimmy looking down at the trash can being symbolic of how he kicked it to death earlier, and how poignant his emotional state is with HHM, what that elicits in him, where he wants to be better, but at the same time, things from his past haunt him. This trash can haunts him. Metaphorically, obviously, not the, you know. It haunts him as a person, where he has this reminder of what he was, what he is, and something that's going to carry on with him throughout different things, of how it reminds him of things from his past. This trash can, little dents, a dent in the trash can that he caused. Dents in his life, in other people's lives that he caused. The dent in Howard's wife's life that he is the cause of by leading to Howard's death. Little things like that. That's how I saw it. That's how I perceived it. So, another great scene. I'll probably put it like right there. This is like season 1, episode 2, I think, where this is basically just there so Vince can get you into Better Call Saul by bringing in a Breaking Bad character, making Saul, making Jimmy, bringing that classic Saul negotiating energy with the mannerisms and everything, and really starting to build out his character. But mainly it's just there so you can get some Breaking Bad characters in there to really build out some audience trust there. That's really what it's all about from that perspective. And yeah, so it's no better than B tier. Probably like like right here. The chimp with a machine gun scene, right? Okay. This scene is kind of like, because on one hand, right, you have Chuck McGill, who loves his brother, but he's also very cynical, where he has these previously conceived notions about his brother that he can't let go of, no matter how much his brother attempts to be better. He has these preconceived notions that aren't just there for no reason. He has reason to believe all these things, but he can't help himself. So when he finally unleashes all this in front of Jimmy, it's a further strain in their relationship that continues throughout the show, of Jimmy trying to be better for his brother, until their relationship finally snaps and it all concludes with Chuck killing himself. But it all begins with moments like this, where you have Chuck unleashing onto Jimmy preconceived notions that he can't let go of. And yes, I think I can put it right there. This tier list is huge. This is insane. It's almost over though. Just only 4 more things. I'm not gonna do these last 4 because they're just too vague. I don't know how I even do it. This is a scene where Lalo's basically interrogating them, like, so what happened in the desert? What happened in the desert, At least, wait. I believe it was. I'm like pretty sure this is what the scene was. No, wait, was it? I don't remember. Wait, was this the scene? Was this the part where Lalo died? Because that's down here. So I'm just going to assume that this is where they were being kind of interrogated. And I'm going to put it right about um, here. Well, actually, no. Here. How'd the scene get too low, so low? I'll put it right above there, yeah. Marie Schrader. This is okay. So when I watched the final, I was not at all expecting this to bring in Marie, but I guess it would make thematic sense. Where like she's gone through so much in Breaking Bad, right? She has damaged relationships with her sister. Her husband is dead. Her husband's friend, who's basically a family member to her, is dead. Her whole life has crumbled before her. And the only person there left from that life that she just blames everything on is Saul. Saul, which by this point was still Saul, not transformed to Jimmy yet, but starting on that transition. So now I think I can put this up. Up with probably top of A, probably like right there. Yeah. This is just a great little scene. It's funny. Where Saul just creates this ad, just pure Saul isms. It's a fun moment. Oh crap. I put a not so fun moment. I picked up a not so fun moment when I was talking about this one. This is just a fun moment. Fun little Saul. Silly Billy moment. So nothing really to jump up and down about. Kind of in the same vein as this scene, where it's just a funny scene. I mean, it's not bad, but it's nothing really that great either. Alright, the last scene on this tier list fits very well here. Howard's death. All the way up there. Not the best scene of the show, but certainly up there, where you have everything that has happened. They have beat down Howard so much that when you get to this moment where Lala's coming in, you have the little bit with the candle. It is a haunting representation of all the damage that Kim and Jimmy have done together. And it's just an incredible scene. And yeah, oh my gosh, I'm finally done with this tier list. This tier list was giving me a headache. It was fun, but like, oh, it is a lot. An hour and 8 minutes, it's not too bad actually. I thought it would take more, like an hour and a half. I got it. That was fun. Please subscribe. I swear if this video doesn't do well.